Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Quick to Politic, the social commentary podcast. I'm your host, Ernestine Lyons, and I wanted to invite a very special guest onto our show today. We are talking with Teferi Brent, minister and activist, and we are talking about the topics of systemic change and social justice. And so without further ado, I want to delve into, a little bit about your biography, your background, and tell us who you are.
Grace and peace, Councilwoman Lyons. Let me first say thank you. I am humbled by and gracious for the opportunity to indulge in a healthy engagement and interaction with you around very important topics that directly impact our cities, our communities, our people, and definitely the nation. So I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me to join with you and partner with you and to sit with you on this particular platform. Thank you for creating this platform to allow agents of change to weigh in on issues that directly impact our community. And before I talk about me, which is a very uncomfortable topic, I just want to acknowledge the wonderful work that you've done. I appreciate you for being a groundbreaker, for being innovative and creative and ingenious with a lot of the legislation that you've attempted to push forward. Some that
I appreciate that.
Some that has passed, some that has been rejected because of the short-sightedness of other individuals. But I just want to, thank you and applaud you. And I just want people to know that you were there in regards to the Priscilla Slater case from the very beginning. You were at the second demonstration. You were there to offer support to the family and to also offer information to the family. So I wanted to express my profound appreciation for you, your work around with your business soup program and initiative, whereby you award resources to businesses, especially Black businesses in Harper Woods, so that they may get a jump start, a kickstart, if you may, and get access to city government. I want to acknowledge you and express my appreciation and respect for the work that you've done around police reform, right? The work that you've done around implicit bias and cultural competency, and your anti-racism work in Harper Woods. I've attended a couple of those sessions and they've been dynamic. So I just want to really, really express my appreciation for you and your forward thinking and your creativeness and the power and the agency that you've displayed as a political leader in Harper Woods. I also want to acknowledge Cynthia Douglas and her great work and her commitment to social change and her commitment to marginalized people in that community and to African American people in that community, and her wonderful work. I know she's running for school board, so I pray and hope that she received the support and resources she needs to be successful, because she is indeed a person of the people. I want to acknowledge, of course, the historical significance and legacy of our current mayor, Valerie Kimball. She is a historic figure, and I respect and appreciate the doors that she's kicked open. She was the first in many regards, and it's because of her that you exist. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge the magnificent work and the sacrifices and the compromises, in some cases, the strategic and tactical compromises that she may have had to make over the last 2 decades to position herself and African Americans in the space of power in Harper Woods, to make sure African American people and all people had a voice at the table. So I have the utmost respect for the contributions and the sacrifices made of Mayor Kimball. I want to acknowledge, of course, Brother Will Smith, Coach Will Smith, that you and many other folks in Harper Woods know him as, former council member, an activist there currently, an organizer in the community, a strong, bold voice in the community. I want to definitely acknowledge his work. And of course, another Harper Woods resident who happens to be a state rep, Sister Yancey, for her outstanding work and her contributions to Harper Woods and to the people in Harper Woods, and most especially to African American people throughout the state, and the hard positions she's taken to ensure that all voices of all people in all communities are respected and heard. I just want to just make sure I express my admiration for that system. And I also want to express my appreciation for Senator Adam Hollier in regards to his direct involvement and commitment to ensuring, because he was really one of the first people, along with you, to ensure that information was communicated down to the family once Sister Priscilla Slater was murdered, or she died or was found dead. I'm sorry, was found dead on the Harper Woods jail cell floor. Brother Adam Hollier was an integral part in ensuring that there was transparency and that information was cascaded down to the family when they couldn't find any help, and and their voice wasn't respected, and they couldn't get any information. He was intimately involved in communicating as much information as he could from the Harper Woods Police Department and the Michigan State Police to the family. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge those individuals, and of course our team, Niggas Woo from the People's Action, of course, brother Tristan Taylor from Detroit Will Breathe, brother Yusuf Shakur from Community Builders, brother Malik Shabazz from the New Garvey Movement, and several other individuals who have been intimately involved in adding perpetual pressure to those individuals who have not been as transparent and who have not been as willing to ensure that the Priscilla Slater family has extended transparency and justice. So before I talk about myself, I want to talk about all of you guys and all of my partners who have been actively involved in this work that we've been called by God to do and by the community to do in Harper Woods. So again, I want to say thank you for having this platform. Thank you for welcoming me, allowing me to be your guest and be your partner in this moment. And again, I just want to express my appreciation for you.
Thank you. That actually it really warms my heart, because in some ways I do feel that, I could be doing more, and for you to just, say all of that, it really I really want to thank you from just a really deep place of appreciation. Um so yeah, I'm humbled.
So in regards to myself, and it's always hard for me to really talk about myself, especially in on a public format in a public forum. I am the men's minister for Fellowship Chapel under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony, who is the head of the biggest, baddest, and blackest NAACP chapter in the country, over 20,000 members. He is indeed a humble and brilliant leader. He's been a mentor, an example of what it looks like to serve our community and our people, and to be a voice for all people and to stand on the principles of justice and peace and equality and equity. Of course, most of my work has been rooted in what we call the urban peace and justice movement, which was born out of the mentorship of Miss Clementine Barfield, going back to the late 80s and early 90s, where she started an organization called Save Our Sons and Daughters, which was specifically designed on the backs of the fact that several grieving mothers, including her son Derek Barfield was murdered, and of course also Miss Vera Rucker, who was her co-founder. Her daughter Melanie Rucker was murdered in the mid '80s, and as a result of that, they stood up. They accepted the charge to do something about the violence that was plaguing Detroit. And she has been a national leader for over 2 decades, over 3 decades, really throughout the country as it pertains to urban peace and justice work. I mean, she's directly responsible for the assault ban, for the ban on assault weapons. She's directly responsible for a lot of the neighborhood vigils that you see. She was one of the first, if not the first, to do that. She's directly responsible for ensuring that homicide cases in the city of Detroit were addressed aggressively and with integrity. She was directly responsible for establishing peace programs, um, conflict resolution programs for a lot of our young people in the city. Because of her work, crime and homicides in the city of Detroit from the 80s until the late 90s dropped significantly. So she is indeed a heroine in this nation, and she is indeed someone who I directly attribute any accomplishments that I've had since her work. For sure. I mean, I am because of her and because of Dr. Wendell Anthony and Dr. Earl Henderson, who is also a member of So Sad, who's now a political science professor at Penn State University. So I just want to make sure I lift up them as I talk about myself, because had it not been for their sacrifice and their contributions, I would not be who I am, and I would not have been able to accomplish the wonderful things that God has empowered me and blessed me to accomplish. I'm also one of the co-founders of Detroit 300, a community peace organization whereby we organized over 3,000 residents to address crime in the city of Detroit. We were involved in helping to close out over 40 cases whereby serial rapists were captured and removed from the community, whereby baby killers were removed from the community, whereby elder rapists and killers and violators were removed from the community. So that is really my background. My passion, of course, is the development of African American males of all ages. My passion is also criminal justice reform, prison reform, and police reform. And there's just been so many things that we've been able to do from an experiential standpoint, from a community based, from a grassroots based standpoint, and of course, in regards to policy and procedure, we've been able to positively impact legislative and policy change throughout the state and throughout the city. So that's just a little bit about me. But what I would like to say about myself, probably more than anything, is that I am a humbled, honored servant of the people. That is what I have been called to do. That is what I love to do. That is my greatest passion, is to serve our people, especially marginalized folk, especially Black men and Black boys. But more importantly, I'm tasked and charged by the Spirit of God to ensure that justice and equity and peace and fairness is accessible to all of the citizens in the community in which I serve, and that's primarily the city of Detroit and, of course, Metro Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That is definitely a great track record to, you're in a testament to your commitment to peace and justice, and, striving to be a true social justice warrior. And I know this term has been begun to be thrown around kind of haphazardly, but I think that's really like, it sounds like, almost 2 decades of fighting and waging these sort of, battles to be able to strive for, what's right and what's just, and to bring these issues to the fore so that, we as a society can re-envision, what's next, how to be better, how to do better, and, how to really, really stand on our own 2 feet. So thank you for that. And I also, it resonates with me to be like a servant of the people. And that's something that really ignited a fire within me, is to drive to see systemic change, and to even start having these kind of forums where you're having conversations with folks to really pick their brains, to really get that perspective and to collaborate, because no man is an island unto himself. And how much can you actually achieve when it's just you, doing this work? So this work is meant to be something that is a collective, to be able to really search for justice and search for, I'm sorry, for justice and for what's right. So thank you so much for the biography, and for telling us a little bit more about yourself, and your commitment to Detroit and Metro Detroit. Um, so
And also, if I may, Councilwoman Lyons, forgive me, and I pray that I'm not being rude, but I just want to also mention the fact that I'm a proud bonus father to 4 beautiful children, to Dallas, who's 8, and Tyler, who's 15. In fact, I'm at his football game right now. He would kill me if he knew that I stepped away from his game to do what I always do, and that's talk politics and do what we call putting in work for the people. And then, of course, I have 2 wonderful daughters, adult daughters, Christina and Ashara, who are also teachers in DPS and graduates of Western Michigan University, honors graduates of Western Michigan University and University of Michigan. So I think of all the things that I've done, I think my proudest accomplishments, or my greatest accomplishments, if you may, the accomplishments that I'm proudest of, is the fact that I've been able to be a father and a significant contributor to the lives of four magnificent children who are destined for greatness just by virtue of the fact that they've had outstanding mothers. They have a loving, gracious, empowering God, and they have a halfway decent dad. I just wanted to make sure that I don't forget I don't forget the beautiful children that God has blessed me with on this journey.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And, it sounds like they are, going to grow up to be folks who are, really committed because they have you as an example. And they're going to go out there and proliferate and do great things in society. So,
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
yes, yes. And I feel like that's something we all should aspire to be. And one day, when I become a parent, I would hope the same. Um, so I just want to delve right into, one question that you have been quoted as saying, the city of Harper Woods, where, I serve as an elected official, is like 1950s Mississippi. And so what are some ways in which, in your estimation, Harper Woods can change, or and then elaborate a little bit more on, what makes you say this, and what should be the game plan for, people who represent the city to want to change that narrative.
Well, just a few things. It's an analogy, right? When we talk about 1950 Mississippi, if one really understands the history there, we know that from the Civil War up to and up through the 1950s, Mississippi was a place where, by most of their population, was African American. However, their political leadership had very few African American faces in it and African American voices in it, right? So when we draw that comparison between Harper Woods and Mississippi, we're speaking to the fact that Harper Woods is a wonderful city where about 60% of the population is African American, and based upon the projections of folks who have been working with the census and a lot of your grassroots community people, Harper Woods could come out with numbers that speak to the fact that you have maybe over 70% of an African American population. However, in Harper Woods, you also have roughly what, three city council people as a result of our political activity and our civil rights work and our social justice work in Harper Woods. The former mayor Pointer for racist statements has been removed, or he has left the mayoral position, and now you have your first African American and African American woman mayor, Mrs. Kimball there. Harper Woods is also the same place where you never had a black police chief. Harper Woods is the same place where you've never had a black judge. Harper Woods is the same place where you've never had a black city manager. Harper Woods is the same place where you have no black department heads. Harper Woods is the same place when you have very few African American businesses who have access to contracts in that city. I mean, Harper Woods is the same place where Sister Priscilla Slater was found dead on a jail cell floor under questionable circumstances, right? Harper Woods is the same place before the death of Sister Slater. We had another sister who happened to be a sister of a Detroit police officer who was hemorrhaging inside of Harper Woods jails, but yet she could not get any help or assistance. They would not send her to the hospital, even though she begged them on numerous occasions to do that. Harper Woods is the same place where their jails, where their local lockup is of the most denigrating and degrading of situation and circumstance and context. Harper Woods is the same place where we have attorneys coming to us telling us that they have tried to get access to their clients, which is their constitutional rights and the client's constitutional rights and their legal rights. Harper Woods Police Department has denied them access to their clients while they were in their lockup. Harper Woods is the same place where in 2017, I believe, rescue me if I'm wrong, Councilwoman, whereby you had an officer who was selling heroin or accused of selling heroin in 2017. Harper Woods is the same place where you have a 25-year fire captain who put up the white supremacy sign, right? Harper Woods is the same place where you had a citizen put white sheets on a figure or on a model on their front lawn. Harper Woods is the same place where I've had the privilege recently of doing GOTV work and canvassing with certain candidates in your city, whereby a lot of your white residents would slam the door in our faces, where they would say very disrespectful things, whereby we would go to the screen, the door would be open, but the screen would be locked. And we would ask to engage them respectfully and peacefully and lovingly and professionally. And they would just blatantly ignore us. So it is on that backdrop, it is in light of those things that we make those comments in regards to the comparison between Harper Woods and 1950s Mississippi.
Okay. Well, thank you for, kind of elucidating, what that meant and, what those experiences were, because, at the end of the day, representation does
Mm-hmm,
matter. Um, and, it also matters that, we progress as
mm-hmm.
a society, that we get better. And, I think that that's something that, when I first heard that statement, I would have to say that when I first moved to Harper Woods in 1997, I did feel that I was treated as an outsider, as was my family. And it was a little hard to really integrate into, you know, just with my classes. I was bullied a lot, I was teased a lot, I was left out, I was ignored, as an African American kid, being the only one in my class. And so that is a reality, and those are things that, my whole family, we had to deal with. Just funny looks and, disparate treatment. And, this is the reality. The reality is that, things weren't always perfect in the past. And, I'd have to say that, me getting involved as an adult in, Harper Woods politics, I recognized that, there were some changes that had happened. But I recognized there was also more work to be done. And so I do feel that we are getting to a place, where, we're working, and we're seeking that sense of, just togetherness. And, there are a lot of groups like our Harper Woods Neighborhood Economic Development Coalition that is really, really, just a integrated mixed group that is committed to recognizing that we do, we have work to do. We have a lot of, togetherness and unity building, and they have been putting in the groundwork. They have been, just really fostering this sense of civic pride and community togetherness, as our community does change, as our demographics shift. And, I think they've been doing a good job of, just making sure that, the community not only knows about, the things that this city needs as far as economic development. And, the 2008 financial and housing crisis wasn't kind to this community and a lot of, Metro Detroit municipalities, where, we're older industrialized cities that had that workforce that really depended on, old systems, due to, the auto
Right.
industry. And once, those jobs and things changed, the economy changed. And, we're also living in an era of the mall isn't something that is, a economically viable thing. And for a very long time, Eastland was our cash cow in the city. So as that changes, the way that people interact, the way that people shop, all of those things have, changed. But I think that you are right in identifying that, there may have been a lot of resistance in the past. And, old ways die
And
hard.
even in the
And
present too, Councilwoman, if I may interject, if I may add to what you're saying, and your analysis is brilliant and very thoughtful and research based, without question. I mean, even now, I mean, there's still issues. I mean, just look at it. You guys just terminated, rightfully so, two officers who intentionally mismanaged and mishandled and manipulated evidence relative to the Priscilla Seda case. right? And one of those was your deputy chief, who I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to share this. Your same deputy chief who was trying to, in a very clandestine manner, negotiate terms with activists who were doing work in Harper Woods relative to Priscilla Slater. That same deputy chief also happened to be your complaint supervisor. So the question is not, just and most importantly, what he's done in regards to the Priscilla Slater case, but also how many other people, how many other, especially African Americans, have been victimized by his lack of transparency and honesty and his decency, right? So I mean, these are the kinds of things that lead us to draw that kind of make that kind of analysis and draw that kind of historical comparison between the current state of Harper Woods and, of course, historically racist places like Mississippi and Alabama. I mean, just think about it. Your Mayor Pointer, who rightfully resigned or was forced to resign, made that absurd, ridiculous statement. I believe you may have been there, and I applaud those folks in leadership there and those activists like Brother Will Smith and others who exposed his foolishness and his racism. For him to sit up and say in this time, in the middle of a global upheaval around the mistreatment and murder of innocent, unarmed Black life by police folk and by government leaders, for him to sit up and say in a closed door meeting, right, that he can understand why, certain white Americans or white residents will be sympathetic to white supremacist movements and activities is absolutely reprehensible. And that's a blowback to the 1950s. So it's just not, the historical behavior of Harper Woods leadership, especially their police leadership, which was very terroristic and antagonistic towards citizens of Harper Woods, and especially African American citizens from Detroit who would drive through Harper Woods. I have personally, over the years, experienced being terrorized and unfairly treated by Harper Woods and East Point and Warren and Ferndale and Oak Park police departments. So there's still some opportunity right now that needs to be addressed, which is what you alluded to. But I just wanted to make sure that I captured those current events and occurrences that aren't isolated. It appears to be systemic when you juxtapose them to all the other things that I mentioned as well. So it's systemic, it's contextual, it's institutional, and I applaud the work that you are doing. I want to be clear about this. I applaud the work that you are doing, and I don't feel as though personally that you have been given the respect. I don't feel as though your voice has been heard in a way that it should have been heard, because had people listened, like folks like you, folks like Will Smith, and folks like Cynthia Douglas, we wouldn't be in this place, right? So I feel as though even now there's great opportunity for folks to better value and appreciate the brilliance and the forthright thinking and the strategies and tactics that you guys bring to the table to rectify some of those racial issues that still exists in the city of Harper Woods.